welcome to the second class of Acting 101 with the Little Theater of Winston-Salem. For those of you who may not have watched the first one, my name is Britt Stone and I am the education coordinator and adult acting teacher / improv for the Little Theater. And I am very excited to be doing this for you guys. So class number 2, yay! We are going to be talking about the actor's world. And that is a very vague statement. But there are 4 components to the actor's world, the world of an actor, the world that we step into as soon as we accept a role. And those are character, relationship, obstacle or conflict, and environment, of course. Now, I'm going to just talk briefly about each one of these components in the world of an actor and how we go about creating the world as an entity, as one entity. Character, it's a very simple word that most of us know what it means. It essentially just means the person, the human representation that you are bringing onto stage with you. But character is also another vague word, and the beauty of it being vague means that there really is no one character, there's no one type of character. Character isn't just human. Character is personality, it's experience, it is the primitive qualities that we bring with us just as humans. And then of course, you've got the added layers of the theatricality that you bring to that human. That my character right now is an acting coach. And okay, that's a simple statement. I'm an acting coach, but what goes into me being an acting coach? Why am I here? I don't really know. Because people trust me, right? So that is character. Character is a very simple statement, but it has a lot underneath it. That's when people start to do backstory, and there's a lot of wonderful, beautiful tools for creating character backstories. But backstory doesn't just have to do with one single character and individual. Backstory also has to do with the relationships that you create, and so that is the second component, which is relationships. Whenever I teach in my actual classroom, I focus a lot on relationships throughout the whole course. And the reason I do this is because a character doesn't become a character in this present moment without the relationships that they have had and potentially gleaned from and learned from throughout the past. Before this world that you are creating right now, there of course was a world that existed beforehand. And that world includes those relationships. Relationships are so very important. They build us sometimes without us knowing it. And there are so many different kinds of relationships, right? Just like there are different kinds of characters. There are different kinds of relationships because there are different kinds of characters. My relationship with my parents is going to be very different than my relationship with my siblings, or my relationship with a partner, or my relationship with friends. All of it is very different. There could be subtle differences, there could be big differences. And the differences in those relationships also create the differences in conflict, which is the third, and it's also very important. Conflict is what gives that TV show and that movie and that play the big bang. Conflict is that thing that we search for and that makes it interesting. It makes our lives interesting right now, right? We're all having conflicts, and as confusing and hard as it is right now, it makes it interesting. Things are definitely interesting. And so outside of that, our characters fuel our relationships. Our relationships fuel our conflicts. I'm gonna have a different conflict with my parent versus with my partner, hopefully. So again, relationships are kind of like a nucleus for those things. Environment, of course, it's very obvious. Environment is essentially what surrounds you. Now, environment does not necessarily, it's not limited to trees and the room you're in. The environment encompasses time period, it encompasses weather, even though that's not very pertinent to an on-stage world, but weather still affects things. And it of course has to do with where you are, but also what surrounds you. Whether you're outside, whether you're inside, what room you're in, who is in that room with you. The environment is not just inanimate objects. Your environment is, of course, also prone to affecting you based on the people that you find in that environment. So that was a lot of talking, a lot at once, and so I know that that went by very fast, but what I want you to understand with those 4 components is, even though they are individual, that you might focus on them individually, one step at a time, all 4 of them in this beautiful tangled web of theater end up affecting the other one. So like I said, your character affects your relationships. It affects how you deal with these human beings that you're acting next to, these characters, this fiction. This fiction is real to you. I mentioned in class 1 that you need to be present at all times with yourself and with your partner. So through that back and forth, character, relationship, character, both of them end up just growing up and up and up together, right? So the world of an actor, just these 4 components, all of them end up just having almost like a party together, right? That they mingle and they intersect, and it's all a Venn diagram. But as actors, it's important to work on them each as little individual spheres. Then you get to make that wonderful puzzle of, okay, we've designated these 4 spheres, let's put them together and let's see what matches and let's see how they affect one another. In my class, I usually teach this exercise called Advance and Expand. Now, the way that I teach Advance and Expand in my class is because it's in person and I can actually do the exercise accurately in person, is I divide the components that I mentioned into 2 sub-worlds, okay? Now, these terms that I'm throwing at you are kind of my own terms that I have had to concoct in my head over a long period of time. So when I say sub-worlds, I'm essentially just talking about that there's 2 different realities that you're working on as an actor while you're building the scope of your world, okay? So you've got an internal world and an external world. The internal world is what actors typically focus on, okay? It's 3 out of the 4 components. It's your character, your relationship, and of course the conflict that comes out of that. So that's your internal world. Your external world is your environment, okay? So as an actor, you're typically focusing on your internal world, your own character, the backstories, all that wonderful, wonderful goodness. The external world is what's above you. Now, the exercise basically calls for the acting coach, myself, in the classroom to, during an improvised scene based off of the prompt, I basically gently shout out the words advance or expand. And I'm basically asking my actors in that moment to try and focus on both worlds separately to see how they affect one another. So this is a really, really beautiful exercise, but in regards to what I'm explaining, it has to be done in person to work that way. But your at-home exercise is going to help you learn the same type of thing, and you have the same objective, okay? So here we go. We're going to use a random word generator, okay? So it's essentially as if I was in the classroom with you and I gave you that prompt or that suggestion. So I want you guys to go online and find a random word generator. All you have to do is literally Google that phrase, and the first one or the second one that pops up is the one that I typically use for myself. So you're going to choose one of the first 3 words, okay? Don't get all like, I don't like that word. Challenge yourself. If the third word you see is still weird, challenge yourself. You've got all week to work with this, okay? You're not on the spot. You're not in front of me on stage. You're not on the spot. So you have all week to work with this. And also, you can do this as many times as you want because it is really fun. So anyways, you are going to go on a random word generator, and then you are going to first take that word and just create a character, okay? Just write that. It can be just an occupation. It could be a fireman. It could be a fully fleshed out weird character. Who knows? Whatever it is. Give them a name and start to create a backstory for that character. Very simple backstory, like an age and where they're from, and just maybe some characteristics that you start to see grow in your mind. Then I want you to think of just a relationship that character might have with another character in this play, this world that you are creating now on paper, okay? So, character, random word, character based off the random word, relationship based off of the character, then conflict based off of the relationship, okay? So if you were to choose a fireman and a cat up in the tree, the relationship's probably not going to have too much substance and intimacy, but there's still a relationship there, right? And there's still a conflict. Those could be your characters. I don't know. I just random word prompted myself in my head. Okay, so that's what it is. You've got fireman character, relationship, fireman and cat, conflict. The cat won't freaking come down out of the tree. What do I do? And environment, tree. Okay, now I would like for you to take those 4 components and try and write either a monologue based on the character and relationship, just a monologue, or write a scene based on all of this, okay? Write a scene with dialogue. Now, for all of these exercises that I'm going to ask you guys to try, I want you to try and understand what makes you comfortable. If you're not familiar with writing a scene and that intimidates you in any way, write it into a short story, or write what comes into your head. Because anything that happens in your head, and this is something I say in my classes, anything that happens in your head or what you bring to the stage or the performance area is perfect and great and super creative, okay? There are no expectations here other than to try, right? So I want you to try this. It sounds a little complicated, but again, random word, character, relationship. So essentially introducing a second character that makes sense. What am I on? Number 3? Oh, nope, that was the right finger. Number 3, conflict based on those 2. And the environment. And then I would like you to write something fleshed out. You can write a monologue based on these 4 components. You can write a scene between the 2 characters that you introduced based on this world, or you can just write out a list of what went through your head, or a paragraph or a short story, whatever type of writing medium you are comfortable with. But this exercise is essentially for you to use your head and create that world in your head, since unfortunately we cannot be physically present with each other and watch each other. So I would like for you to do this exercise 1 or a million times and bring the work that you've written down and that you've explored to the next Saturday discussion. And I am very, very, very excited to hear what you've come up with. And if you do end up writing a monologue or a scene, you are more than welcome to perform that for us, okay? So yeah, good luck, go ahead. I'll probably be doing my own little exercises to share with you guys. So thank you so much for watching. Please make a donation to the Little Theater so that we can keep growing and growing these education programs for you so that we can get back to it when all this wonderful stuff is over. All right? So thank you so much, and I will see you next week.